What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, a huge thanks for coming back. We really appreciate you guys. And remember, if you like what you see, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. So today we are jumping back on the OBS crew cab Centurion build, and today we are fixing something that is very important, especially here in Arizona with the summer coming up, and that's the AC system on this truck. It has never worked since I bought the truck, but luckily this thing's not my daily driver, so during the summer when I bought it, didn't really drive it that much. And then during winter when I was driving it a little bit more, it was winter, so we didn't really need the AC. Well, this summer I definitely want to drive this truck a lot more if the fuel prices let us. So that's the number one thing. But if we can't drive this thing and the fuel prices aren't through the roof, I want the AC to work because I want my family to be comfortable in this thing. So we are going to be replacing pretty much the whole AC system on this thing except for the hoses. And if I was a smart man, I would have planned better so that I could have done this with the radiator out, because it would have made this whole thing way easier, but I didn't. And all my stuff came here a couple days ago. But we've got the condenser, we've got a new compressor, we've got the evaporator, I think. The dryer. We've got the dryer, we've got the oil for the system, we've got all the little O-rings that we need for everything, and the orifice tube, I believe this is what this is. I've never done any of this, so it's all new to me. So if I mix a couple of the names, forgive me. But like I said, a couple of weeks ago, if you missed that video, we installed a new radiator, heater core, new hoses and stuff like that. So the cooling system is taken care of. It's doing pretty good. It's still really nice and green. So I think we did a pretty good job on this whole flush. But like I said, I knew I was gonna do the AC system and replace the condenser and all that stuff. But unfortunately, the way that I ordered everything, they didn't all get here at the same time. And from what I understand, you have to at least move the radiator back and out of the way to get the condenser, which sits pretty much right in front of it. It might get a little bit fun getting it out, and I definitely wish I would have waited for that thing to come in so that I could have done everything at once with the radiator just out of the way. I think it would have made it a lot easier. But now, you know, I gotta do what I gotta do. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this stuff all moved out of the way. I believe I'm not gonna have to disconnect any of the hoses. I think I have enough play to just push it out of the way and be able to bring the condenser out. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that, guys. Very important, I did take this truck to get the AC refrigerant evacuated out of this truck. It's something that you can do at home, but you need some very expensive machines to do that. One of the cheaper ones that I found on Amazon was like $400 or $500, and they charged me $50 at my local shop to get this stuff evacuated. But you definitely want to go ahead and take it somewhere to get evacuated. You don't want to just release all this stuff to the atmosphere. It's not cool. So whatever it did or did not have, I took it to the shop. They evacuated it, left the vacuum in it. So now it's good for me to go ahead and take off all these hoses and everything, and hopefully we'll be all right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start by, like I said, moving the radiator out of the way, which it's actually pretty easy. It's only two 10 mil screws on the top, one right here and one right there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use my little 1/4 inch impact. All right, got that one out. And we've got that one out. So with those two loose, as you can see, the radiator has enough space to move back, and hopefully this will be enough to allow us to pull this condenser out of the way. Now, as far as the condenser goes, it has 4 bolts that I believe they're all 8 mil. Let me check. No, I think they're also 10 mil. Yep, they're 10 mil. The 4 bolts that it has are 2 on top, 1 there, 1 there, and 2 more pretty much at the same spot, but all the way down at the bottom of the condenser that you can access from the bottom of the truck. So I'm gonna go ahead, get these 2 out. Actually, before that, never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and disconnect the actual the hoses from it. So I'm gonna go ahead, get some wrenches, get these broken free, and get the actual condenser separated from this whole thing. So I've got a 3/4 inch wrench and a 7/8, and hopefully this will get it out. There we go. It's a little tight for sure. Now this thing should have a vacuum in it. As long as there's no leaks in the system, it should have a vacuum, so you might hear a little hiss. That's completely normal. There you go. So it is holding vacuum, so that's good. That means that there's probably not any leaks anywhere in the system, which makes me happy. Okay, so now the condenser is free from the rest of the system, so we're gonna go ahead and break those free. So we're gonna go ahead and break those bolts free and pull this thing out of here. So okay, so now on the bottom side of the truck, that right there, I'm lost. Okay, so there's one of the bolts, and then the other one is way over there on the other side, right there. So I'm gonna go ahead, get those two out, and we should be ready to pull the condenser out of here. Okay, so we got the two bolts down from down below. So hopefully now, all we gotta do is pull this thing out, hopefully. Okay, there we go. That was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. It came out pretty smoothly, gotta say. Now this thing is a little bit different from that other one, and I guess let me explain why. Because I don't think I've actually explained part of the reason why I want to swap everything out. Obviously, the number one reason why I want to swap all of this stuff out is because it wasn't working. And I personally didn't want to go through the trouble of like troubleshooting everything, trying to find leaks and stuff like that. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna replace everything because one, I want to go to R134A, which this thing had already been, I guess, converted to 134A when they swapped out the compressor and that evaporator. Anyways, but I don't know if they did everything right, if they did the gas, the O-rings and stuff like that. So I decided to go ahead and just, again, switch everything that I know is right to 134A. And it wasn't really that expensive. All of that stuff that I got it pretty much as a kit from Parts Geek. It was only 330 bucks for the compressor, that thing, and the condenser, so not that expensive. But basically, if you have a truck that's 93 or older, you have to, it'll come up as R12, which is the older refrigerant that these things took. So what I did is I looked up under a 94, which that should have been the year that they switched to 134A, and all that stuff came up. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and be swapping all this stuff in there now. So now that we have that out of the way, I'm basically just gonna move down the line, removing things. We are eventually have to remove this line, and like I said, hopefully this line will work with that condenser, so I'll check that later. But we're gonna go ahead and remove the dryer, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that, see how that looks. Remove the orifice tube from there as well. And then finally, we'll go ahead over here and remove our compressor. And I guess we're gonna get started with this big nut right there. Get that broken loose and out of there. Okay, so we got our old dryer out, and I am noticing a couple of differences from both of these things. The main difference is on, as you can see, the new one doesn't have this tube coming out the bottom. It actually has it coming out the side. At least I think that's what, oh shit, that's what that is, and I made a mess. Because this is where that hose that comes from the compressor goes into, and they're both relatively in the same spot, so I'm hoping that everything will work just fine. So yeah, and then this thing has this little bracket welded to it, which the other one didn't. So I went ahead and took it off the firewall completely, and hopefully this will just bolt in place. And now I'm gonna go ahead and clean that mess. Okay guys, so we've got the AC compressor pretty much out, which is a pretty simple procedure. The first thing you gotta do is on the back of the actual AC compressor, there is a couple of lines. They go to it, and they meet pretty much with this little like manifold block or something like that. That has one, I believe it's a 10 mil bolt going to it. You'll take that off, and then I went ahead and I loosened my belt. I took it off the compressor. Your tensioner is right there, and I believe that one is a 5/8. So I cranked up on it and took the belt off. And now the hardest part about this is that these 3 bolts came right out. They are these nice long bolts, which I think are 10 mil. Except that one. That one did not want to come out. I did go ahead and move the air intake tubes out of the way to give me a little bit more room. But anyways, that bolt actually started stripping the head on it. So what I did is I took a 3/8 socket, which is just a little bit smaller than that 10 mil, and I actually hammered it on to the bolt, and then I took it out with my bigger impact, and that got the job done pretty easily. Now I just got to take it back out of there. Again, I don't know why that one was so tight when all the other 3 were super. They weren't loose, but they were, you know, just easy enough to get off. But anyways, we have this off. All we gotta do is unplug that plug, and wow, this thing is out. So that is that one bolt that you gotta take off from this little. I don't know. Is it really a manifold bolt? I don't know. From that thing. And this thing just simply comes out. So now pretty much everything is disassembled and off of the truck, all the old stuff, which is actually pretty quick. Didn't really take me that long. So now we're gonna go ahead and start getting all of our new parts prepped to go on the truck. And to do that, I'm actually gonna run AC flush through everything just to get it all cleaned out before we throw everything on. So I'm gonna go ahead. I actually have to run to the store, and hopefully they'll have some of that at the store. If not, we'll figure something out. Okay, so I ran to AutoZone and I found this, which is AC Pro Power Clean and Flush. So hopefully this will be enough to clean the system. We're gonna start off by cleaning the hoses that are hopefully gonna work with this whole thing. So I might actually try and see if the hoses are gonna work. Because I've heard some people say that you don't need to replace the hoses, and some say that you do, so I'm not sure. So I might actually look into see if they'll fit first. Okay, so I was looking at the lines, and it looks like the line on the driver's side by the compressor, it looks like that line is gonna work. So this one, however, is not gonna work. That's gonna be this line right here going to the orifice tube, which kind of sucks. So I am gonna go ahead and put everything back together, flush everything except this, and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've been looking for this, and I'm not sure which one it is, so I think I might run to the junkyard tomorrow and try and pick up this hose, which honestly, I'll take any excuse to go to the junkyard. I freaking love it. So I think tomorrow we're gonna do a junkyard run, hopefully find this hose there. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead, flush all this stuff. Apparently the way that they want you to flush this is you basically stick this end of the hose into your AC hose, flush it for a little bit, and then get compressed air and flush it all the way out. This is a solvent base flush, so it should evaporate in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this done, and we'll see how it works. All right, guys, so it's a couple days later, and we actually made it out to the junkyard. We found this pretty decent truck, at least the interior, and I'm gonna take at least this dash pad and then this A-pillar trim, and I really want to take this dashboard too, because it's actually in really good shape. It'd be really nice for the dually because that thing's all cracked, but unfortunately I don't have any place to like store it right now, so I think we're gonna keep it here for now. Hopefully when I need it, it's still here, but it's in really good shape. So I don't know, I might change my mind and take this home, but at least for now we scored this pretty decent dash pad. Like I said, it only has one little crack right there, and then this one is nice and fresh. These things are usually always broken right there in this spot, like this one's broken, but this one's in really good shape. So I think we scored pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead, keep looking for that line. Hopefully we can find a truck with it. This one didn't have it at all, so we'll keep looking and hopefully find it. All right, guys, so I think we've got our line. So it's basically the one that goes from the condenser right there to that tube where your orifice tube is at. So I think this will work, hopefully. Okay, guys, so it's actually been probably a couple of weeks since that last clip, and I just got really busy. You know, life. The store got super busy the last week, and I've just been super busy. I even had a chance to clean this mess. And but anyways, now I want to go ahead and finish this AC install. And if you hear that wind chime in the back, I'm sorry. But anyways, I was actually at the point where I was gonna put the dryer evaporator, whatever this thing's called, I forgot, on, but I'm pretty sure this thing's not gonna work with the setup that I have on the OBS right now. And that's actually for a couple of reasons. The main one is that this hose isn't going to be able to connect to it. As you can see, they're just at two complete different angles. So I think I'm just going to go ahead, flush this one out really good, and reuse it. I wish I could have I really wish I could use this one again, but I don't want to mess with trying to bend this thing and then kinking it or something. And then I also there's not going to be any good way to secure it. The mounting tabs are way off. So again, like I said, it really sucks, but it's fine. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and flush that one out really nice, throw it on here, and get that to work. Okay, guys, so we got our old dryer back on. It's nice inside, everything should be fine. The only thing that I forgot to add is that little sensor on the side, which I believe is the one to turn on the actual compressor. But now to talk about the last part of this puzzle, which is the hose from your condenser down to where your orifice tube is. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks ago when I first started this video, we made a run to the junkyard to try and find the hose that I thought would actually work, which it actually did not work. That hose coming out of the compressor, the condenser, right? It's a number six hose coming out from the condenser. The one that I got was also a number 6 hose going into your orifice tube. Now, the problem with that for me is that on my truck, that's a number 8 tube right there, and I believe the condenser was also a number 8 on this side. So what I ended up doing was actually ordering a custom hose, and I had to do this twice because the first one that I ordered, I got the condenser side fitting wrong. So I went ahead and I ordered a new hose that has both fittings right. So on this side, actually this is the wrong one, this is the right one. So on this side it has a number 6 straight O-ring fitting, and then on this side it has a number 8 to 6 45-degree male spring lock. This is pretty much all the info you need to order this hose. So we got it from coldhose.com. Honestly, a great company to get stuff from, at least AC stuff from. They have a great website. The turnaround time is super fast, especially taking into account that this is custom made. It took maybe like 3 or 4 days to get here to the house, which nowadays that is amazing. So highly recommend coldhose.com if you're gonna do the swap to get this hose. And again, you need to get this exactly. So anyways, now that we got that hose figured out, I'm gonna go ahead, install it, and basically after that all we have to do is pretty much charge the system. We're pretty much done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that hose thrown on. Okay guys, so hopefully today's the day that we finally finish this AC install, fix, whatever on the crew cab OBS. I got myself a nice set of manifold gauges as well as a vacuum pump. Now that whole, I actually bought all of that as a kit from Amazon. I'll drop a link down below. Now if you guys purchase that, it does help us a little bit. We'll get an affiliate link. It doesn't cost you guys anything more, but it does give you a little bit, but it does give us a little bit of a help, I guess. But anyways, so I've got this whole manifold gauge, and so what we're gonna do according to the instructions that we got with the AC compressor and all that kit that I bought is pull a vacuum on the whole kit for at least an hour. So obviously I went ahead and got all of our hoses connected tight. This is how I routed that. I believe this is called the liquid hose, but I could be wrong. And I went from the condenser down under these hoses and back up into the orifice tube. So that should be all nice and set. Like I said, everything else is connected, it's tight, the AC compressor is on, so everything should be good. So we should be able to connect the manifold gauges and go ahead and pull a vacuum on this. So I'm gonna go ahead, get that set up, and then show you guys how it looks. Okay guys, so we've got our manifold gauges hooked up. We've got our low pressure side over there by the passenger side on the, what's that thing? The dryer. And then we got our high pressure side on the compressor side right there. Anyways, so we've got this whole thing set up. Obviously the yellow goes to the vacuum pump, and we pulled the pump a vacuum on this thing, as you can maybe see right there. So now we're gonna go ahead and let this thing sit for about an hour. Make sure that it doesn't lose vacuum. That'll let us know that everything should be pretty much tight. After an hour, we'll go ahead and actually start filling this thing up with the refrigerant and some oil for the system. So I'll check back in with you guys in about an hour. Okay guys, so this thing's still going strong, hasn't moved at all. It's been maybe like 15 minutes. I did forget to tell you guys that I let this thing run for about 15 minutes just to pull a good vacuum on this thing. And we're gonna let it just sit here, like I said, for an hour. After an hour, if it hasn't dropped vacuum at all, we're gonna go ahead and turn this thing on and pull a vacuum for about 45 minutes. And what that'll do is it'll help evacuate anything else that might be in the system. So any moisture, any oils left over, anything like that, hopefully in those 45 minutes we'll evacuate it out of here. And that's very important because anything like that will contaminate all these new parts. So you want the lines and everything to be as clean as possible so that this thing can last for a long time. At least, you know, that's the whole idea. But anyways, again, like I said, these things are closed right now. Whenever the compressor's not running, make sure that these things are closed so that it holds vacuum. And yeah, we should be good. Also, another thing, if your truck's like mine is kind of old and this chrome is peeled. Oh shit, look. Thing's trying to get the freaking Roadrunner. You see him? That freaking crow or whatever was trying to get the Roadrunner. But he got away. Anyways, like I was saying, this stuff is sharp. Don't ask me how I know, but it's really, really sharp. So be careful with that. Anyways, we're gonna wait for like about another 45 minutes, like I said, to make sure that the vacuum doesn't drop at all. Again, like I said, to make sure that we don't have any leaks. Okay guys, so this thing has been holding pressure like a champ, so that means that there's no leaks in the system. As you can see, we're still pretty much at the same mark. I don't know if you can even see that. That we started at. So now, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and actually run the pump, like run it for 45 minutes more or less, to make sure, like I said, to evacuate everything. So the first thing we gotta do is turn this thing on and then open up the gauges. And like I said, hopefully that'll get everything out of the system, clean it out, and then we'll go ahead and actually fill the system, and we'll do a couple of things that I want to show you. Okay guys, so it's been about 45 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and shut off the vacuum pump. And like I said, the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and close these valves right here. Gonna close that and turn off your pump. So now we're finally gonna go ahead and start filling up this thing with Freon. Okay guys, so I'm gonna run you through everything that I have to finish the AC, I guess, charge on this thing. And I obviously have the Freon 134A-R. I got 4 12-ounce cans of this stuff because from all the research that I've done, I think this thing should take about 38 ounces. But there's kind of some, it's not very clear. Some people say that it needs like 34, 32, some 38. On that truck, it takes 38. It's clearly marked on a sticker right around here, which this truck doesn't have. And even if it had it, it wouldn't be really relevant because it'd be for R12, which is a different charge. So I'm going with 38 ounces. Hopefully that'll be enough. Like I said, all the stuff that it has is from a newer truck that would take R134A, so it should be all right. So anyways, like I said, I got 4 of these cans, and then I have the PAG 46 oil. We have this little thermometer that we're gonna stick on the vent, and we have UV dye. That's just in case that we start having trouble with the AC again and that it maybe starts leaking out. It'll at least make it easier to find out where that leak is coming from. So we'll put some of this into this oil before we put it in the line. And last but not least, we've got a scale to make sure that we have the appropriate amounts of everything in this thing. So, but anyways, I guess we'll go ahead and first things first is mix this with the oil. So now, according to the instructions in this thing, you're supposed to pour a quarter of this into the oil. So at least we'll try to add a quarter of it. We might add a little bit more, which I'm pretty sure it won't be a big deal. Okay, so this thing's actually marked, and we've added about a quarter of this thing, so it's a little bit more. And now again, like I said, if this thing ever has a leak or anything like that, all we need is a black light, and we can shine it at all the hoses and stuff like that and make sure and try and find where that leak is coming from. So this thing's pretty cool. Definitely recommend adding it at this point. And as you can see, our oil is now green. So I'm gonna go ahead and shake it up a little bit. That is good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure it, weigh it, I guess. Okay guys, so like I said at the beginning of the video, I've never done any of this stuff before, and I kind of looked up how to recharge the system. And one of the videos that I saw, the guy just said to add this through the hose. Well, that's not gonna work. It won't go in. So I of course looked up another video, and what looks like the best way to do this is actually to go through the high side port. And basically the way that they did it, was by removing the Schrader valve out of this thing. So I went ahead and got one of these tools because I didn't have one. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this valve. Okay, and there we go. We got the valve out. We're gonna go ahead and put it off to the side. Okay, so now the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna pull a vacuum through the low side. We're gonna install this hose into the high side port, and we're pretty much gonna suck it out of this little container. So we'll see how that turns out. And we need about half of this. So I'm gonna eyeball it about half, and that should be good. Okay, and as you can see, this thing's being sucked out. I don't know if you can see the level dropping, but it's actually going pretty fast. There we go, it was that easy. Man, I tell you, you gotta love the internet. Okay guys, so we are in the interior of the crew cab. I went ahead and put on all the Freon that we needed to put on. I had some problems, but I'll tell you about that later. Right now inside it feels nice and cold, except that according to this thing, it could still be colder. So I don't know what's going on. Like, to me it feels nice and cold. Like, this is acceptable to me. It feels pretty much like the single cab. But like I said, this thing's saying that it could still be colder, so I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, we're gonna go outside. I'm gonna talk to you about the little problems that I had with this, that I guess I'm still having. Okay, let's go ahead and talk for a little bit about the problems that I said I was having with this thing. And basically it wasn't taking any more charge. These little cans weren't, I guess, either the liquid wasn't getting sucked out of them or something was going on. And I really wasn't, I still don't know why that happened. But one thing that I did try is to get a new one of these valves. So I was messing with it and I couldn't get it to just, you know, get the gas out. So I went to AutoZone and got a new one, and that seemed to do the trick. I was able to empty out all the ounces that I needed, which I said I used 38 ounces. But even though I still put 38 ounces in this thing, it's still not cooling as much as it should. So I'm really not sure what's going on. My only theory is that I do need to replace this thing right here. Again, I'm not sure. I'm gonna see how it runs, because I mean it's cool enough. It definitely feels nice and cool. It's just not ice cold. So I don't know. Kind of annoying. Again, like I said, I've never done any of this, so it's definitely a first for me. Also, I know that I probably should have added the oil before I started doing all of this, but I just completely forgot. You know, it's just one of those things where you like get in the mood and start putting things on, getting things tight, and you're like, and then you're like, oh crap, I should have added this. But by the time I did that, I already had the vacuum pool on this thing and everything, and I don't know. I should have taken stuff apart and put the oil in and then gone back, but that was just me being lazy. Kind of regret doing that, because I'm afraid that that's kind of one of the reasons that I started having problems. So if I was to do this again, I would definitely add the oil before I sealed the whole system. So again, next time I'm gonna drive this for a little bit, see how I feel about it. And yeah, again, not the biggest success, but you know, at least we got this thing cooling, which is way better than it was before. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions about what I did wrong, definitely leave them down in the comments, or anything you might want to add down there. Leave a comment, drop a like, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.